Okay, I think we're good.
Road construction, I sat out on my gator with my two men watching
Thank you.
dinosaur looking machine eating the asphalt. They thought that was really cool.
Oh, I'm sure they thought it was a
And
blast.
then the broom
I'll go look
and
at the
then
agenda.
Sure.
putting
Keep
that
forgetting
first
to print them.
layer. That's give little boys that kind of entertainment.
Yeah.
Good for life.
Yeah.
Well, where they put it, I didn't see anything wrong with the road. So
I didn't either. Not one of the spots,
mm-mm.
but
They must have something they know, so.
Oh, we got another person joining us.
That's me.
Oh, it's you.
I just want to see if it's working.
Great. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started and call this meeting to order. Can we identify the volunteers present? Steve, you want to start?
Steve Eisenbrown.
Kiara McKisson,
Lindsay Kuhn?
Molly Snodgrass.
Keith Campbell.
And then is there anyone on Zoom?
Yes, I am. Bob Singer.
Hi, Bob.
Hi.
Alrighty. So as usual, we're going to start with our items from our previous meeting. The website audit workshop, Ashley reached out to revise again about setting up a meeting, so we have not moved since our last meeting from that. I know also she was having trouble logging in with her login to just like make some updates. So I'm going to reach out to her again tomorrow and ask, because there's definitely some things that we could just go ahead and do. So I'm going to reach out to her tomorrow, and then maybe I'll just meet with Ashley specifically about some things that we could just like cross off the list personally, and maybe we don't even have to meet up with revise.
Yeah,
That way we
like-
can like make some movement on this.
Yeah, because there are some things that if you're handy enough with computer stuff, as I believe you are, you can do with that, like the admin of the website can do probably a lot more than we realize.
Yeah. So to be TBD. It's too bad that they are being as responsive as we'd hope, but I still think we have plenty of time, and especially through this like strategic planning process, we still got plenty of time to like make some changes to make it more helpful. So then for a spring newsletter, I usually inquire, has anyone received any feedback? We got one piece of feedback to the email, just that the font size is a little small. Which, as you know, like sometimes if you're trying to fit stuff in, because the things spill over and then you just have one extra page where you can't print just one extra page. So did have to shrink some font size to like 9 point in some areas, but I'll definitely take that and keep that in mind. Did anybody else receive any feedback at all?
No, but I think it also like the screenshots of like the news, the updates from the strategic planning stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that font was like really tiny.
Mhm.
Now, granted, those are available in bigger size on the website.
Yeah.
Which I think you even said that in the newsletter. So
Yes.
you know, for people who couldn't read that tiny print, because I mean, I had trouble with it.
Mhm.
You know, hopefully they were able to find the larger copies,
On the website or on Facebook? Yeah.
or even we probably have them printed versions here at the township office even.
Yes.
I thought at the last trustees meeting, we were talking a little bit before they got going, and I mentioned the newsletter, and there was a lot of positive, I mean, just positive rumble about
It's great.
really, appreciative of the effort being made. My wife Marcia liked it. My
Mhm.
kids around the corner, my son and his wife, they thought it was really good.
Great.
So, I mean, it was jam-packed.
Jam-packed
I
is.
mean, the stuff in there on the overlay district, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, that was kind of like another zoning 101.
Yeah, that was a great article.
Now, people have to read it
Yeah. Yep.
because, and Trainer was a little frustrated, you could see that at the strategy meeting about, we keep kind of talking about the same stuff.
Mhm.
We learned, and I know Bob, who's up with us tonight, knows this very well. You gotta tell them what you told them, and you gotta tell them again. Free town method, and then maybe you might hear, something back.
Right.
But that's no reason to back off on the communication side.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
But, and I think we also are getting to the point where we should be able to, if push back a little bit if somebody says, well, gee, raises their hand in a meeting and asks a question. It's like, well, did you get the newsletter?
Sure.
And not in a condescending manner,
Mhm.
but just kind of reinforcing, because there's a lot in that last one.
Yeah.
There's been a lot in each one.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
you guys should be really proud of what you produce.
That probably can be part of our larger discussion that I know you brought up, just about like continuing to reach more people and more involvement. So let's talk about that.
Yep.
At the noodle dinner,
For the
there were several
noodles.
people picked up the,
Great.
so.
Oh yeah, so if you didn't know, I went and dropped off physical copies of the newsletter at the noodle dinner, and then also I had printed that email inviting people to the strategic planning committee, and there was a stack there too. So, and it said like a badge on the corner, it said, don't even RSVP, just come, because RSVPs was mostly for like, they usually get like bottles of water and stuff, but for the most part, if you are not comfortable RSVPing with like an online form, just show up. So oh, that's perfect segue though into another way we can distribute communications at the farmers market. So Karen reached out to Harlem Township Heritage, who asked us to just like forego the table and just walk around and pass out information. So we had said we could like divide and conquer about who's going to which farmers market to pass out information. And I know that Karen A said she would go to the first one on May 21. And I can be responsible for maybe like a clipboard and a standard sign up sheet. If while passing out information, we also had that. And if anybody's like, oh yeah, I'm not on the email list, like we could hand them a clipboard and just get like physical. We could also include a digital way to do
Yeah, like a
that.
QR code.
QR
or something,
code.
Yeah.
But kind of have that in hand plus physical copies of the newsletter. And then if there's anything like immediate happening with that meeting coming up, we could have like just a printout. And just speak for your guys' knowledge for because we talked about this, like the need to print more for simple things like the strategic planning meeting. We're just trying to invite people to things. I really just kind of like took a screenshot of the email because it had everything you needed in it.
Mhm.
And Ashley's just printing those here. She said that's
Yeah.
not a big deal. It'll just be the question of, which we'll talk about in a minute, like if we need anything like professionally done to
Mhm.
distribute information, that's what we'll talk about with the trustees and getting budget approved. So looking at calendars,
I could do June 4th because I have to work that night anyway, so.
wonderful, because they're every week, right? It's a weekly farmers market.
Likely, yes.
Okay.
And they're Wednesdays now this year?
They're
Yes,
What
Wednesdays.
times?
same time.
4 to 7.
That's my son's swim lesson days, so
Okay.
I'd be able to maybe do one or two, but my husband would have to take both boys. So I'm
Okay.
fine with that. But if you were just gonna send out like a sign up genius or something, I'll pick 2 days and
Okay. How about I do that? I'll send out like a sign up thing. Like if by all means, if you like have identified a date immediately that you want to do it, I've got 2 people down now, but I'll send out like a link.
I
after
do
this
have another
meeting.
one, but I think it's in July.
Okay.
I'm not sure the date.
Great.
I have it on my other calendar. I didn't put it on my phone. I put it on my,
Because I know
Physical
Darlene will want to as well.
Yeah.
And like we certainly don't have to be at every single one. I think that maybe if we've got something important going out, that's the opportunity. And then probably like immediately following a newsletter, which throughout the summer we'll be able to be that'll be much more immediate. This newsletter obviously came out in April, but it's our first one, so we might as well get it passed out there. So so anybody have any other questions, comments about that? Am I missing anything? We would probably want to get people to sign up for our email list, and we wanted us to be able to distribute whatever is relevant week.
makes sense to me.
Okay.
Have we gotten additional email addresses through the strategy meetings?
Yes, we are having people sign in, and yes, people are, because you have to RSVP for the strategy meeting. So yes,
Right.
yes.
Okay, so we're actually capturing some new ones. Do we know?
That is, I'm not sure if they are new or just existing. I'm thinking they're existing because the initial email blasts about them are the whole list, and then people RSVP from those emails.
Yeah.
But I can double check that. So
I'm
I
just
have that
curious, is
information.
our count going up?
Yeah.
on,
In the-
email participation, because at some point, it's probably premature, but at some point, maybe next year, we're gonna wanna ask people if they're okay, if they're happy with emails,
Mm-hmm.
to cut out the paper print ones. to
Yeah.
Save some money.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't rush into that, but I mean, we really could, push that.
Yeah. That would probably be a good goal for 2026. I do know that like I can look at analytics for the like online sign up sheet, and we've probably captured 40 or 50 email
Okay.
addresses, I would say, since last September, October when we first started it.
Okay.
So, yes, but that's something I can check.
Yeah, I'm sure the constant contact has all kinds of like metrics and
Yes.
things you can
There is.
dig into. More than you probably want or need.
Right.
And then last thing on this topic of passing out information, does anybody know the park kiosk that we could post information to? Is that something where you have to like ask maintenance to like unlock it and post information, or is anybody able to? Is it like an open?
I would say Dave Snyder or Ed.
Ed Valeska.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Couldn't think of Ed's last name. Those two are always, I think
Mr. Sneed?
Dave might have a key. I don't know. if
Oh
Ed-
yeah, Tom joined.
Oh, great. Tom
Tom
joined.
Mead.
Hi, Tom.
Hi,
Is that kiosk, is that a township quote owned thing?
I think
or-
it is
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
they were gonna
it
move
is.
it. They were gonna relocate that
Okay.
There are
bulletin
things,
board.
they're still talking about how they want to remove it because they're going to remove the library.
Mm,
Mhm.
And I don't know if they're still thinking about moving the food pantry, but try to put them all somewhat in together,
mhm.
make it
Okay.
more convenient because the people are parking and stopping at the library. They think it's a hazard because that is a road there.
Is it basically
The bulletin board or the little library?
the full?
The bulletin
Yeah,
board.
that was
That's
my
what I was
question.
asking.
Yes.
Is it like one of those things where it's behind glass and somebody has to unlock it to post? So that's a question for Dave Snyder then. Cause it could just be as simple as like, Dave, here's like literally the latest email. Could you post it to the kiosk? To,
What he's responsible.
yeah, or
It's part of the.
or
plan.
can I post it? Yeah, like is it locked? Just can anybody
Well,
walk
he's
up
the
and
one's
post
working on trying to
information?
move some of that stuff.
Yeah,
So
he's got his fingers in lots of stuff. He's amazing.
Yes, and he's provided that great America 250 update, and then he sent for the newsletter, and then he sent a new one as well. Alrighty, any questions about old business before we move on to new business? Any questions or comments? Okay, so our next monthly email blast will be May 27th. We usually have our, our resources section above the meetings. My initial thoughts on what that could include, we have that new electric and gas aggregation program announcement. So we could just send one more reminder about that. And then in addition, we have this video recording from the May 10 strategic planning meeting. And then is anybody aware of something, any sort of economic development thing that's being passed or any special trustee meeting that I'm not aware of at the moment? Any special zoning here, anything that we would want to highlight in this section? I mean, obviously these two are big things, so no worries if not, but I'll just check.
I thought there was a special trustees meeting towards the end of the month on strategic planning, and they're gonna have it every month.
That's right. John mentioned that they are adding that to the calendar. They're going to start meeting monthly. So we should probably like highlight that. That's not just a regular trustee meeting. Just explain that something's being added.
And that's separate from the strategic steering committee?
Yeah,
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, that feeds into it
Okay.
via Holly,
okay.
but yeah, and at the last strategy trustees meeting, there was only one of the members of the strategy
Interesting.
that showed up. Which
Yeah.
is, I asked Holly, I said, what, you got this team, how is it that they're gonna get educated? Because most of them don't know much about any of this.
Mm-hmm.
And just not there.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems problematic to me, but so be it.
Thanks for bringing that up, Tom. That's definitely a good thing to pull out and highlight and not just put it in. I mean, from now on, it can be in the list, but I think we should highlight it as like a new thing that's
Yeah,
happened.
so we have both the steering committee strategic meetings, which is one group that meets
That's
monthly.
the
Yes.
third
The
Thursday.
third Thursday, and then there's also gonna be a trustees strategic monthly meeting.
Like a working session.
Yes.
And that's gonna be monthly on what, Wednesdays, probably?
Yes, because the
Okay.
thought is that now we've been gathering feedback since February, so now they want to actually start working on that feedback. So they're gonna start adding like another public meeting where they talk together on it.
Yeah, the
There is
last,
one other thing you might want to add into the email blast. I heard today at the Parks Committee meeting that the township is working now with the Delaware County Foundation with a separate Harlem Township fund.
Oh, okay. That was, they've been
Yeah.
talking about that at trustee meetings, figuring out that process. So if I just confirm that it's official, that might be something we want to promote to residents.
And what we talked about this morning, and Dave may call you and talk to you about it again. But if there were two separate Harlem Township funds under the aegis of the Delaware County Foundation, one fund would be for infrastructure, things like park benches or trees or fire station improvements or whatever, but just infrastructure. And the other would be for land purchases and land maintenance and
Mhm.
such. And those, I don't know how the trustees will feel about it, but right off the top of my head, I think it's good to separate those two and have the ability to donate to one or the other.
That's great, Tom. Thank you. I'll have to reach out and ask like where is it in the process? Like, can I link to it in some way, or are we still finalizing? I'll have to ask.
so I'm looking at the calendar for the next 2 months. I
Mhm.
don't see any. The special trustees meeting that was on the 30th
Mhm.
was there. But going forward, the only trustees meetings are the third Wednesday of each month, regular trustees meetings. None of the others are on here.
Okay, I'm sure they'll email Ashley and have her they'll add whichever day of the week they decide to meet. When that will be on the calendar. Because we'll want to link to it in the email. Fantastic. That's all great stuff to update on. Alrighty, so then that is a great idea for our next point, which is the May social media calendar. Some ideas would be an update to America 250. People seem to like the Did You Know? And then we will have a farmer's market reminder. And then I think we could probably like pencil in information about that Harlem Township Fund if it's official. Darlene has been doing the Did You Know? Would anybody like Karen for the farmer's market for Heritage, would you like to type something up as like a reminder?
Okay.
Okay. Great. Does anybody have anybody playing baseball in the park, or anybody want to be responsible for just like getting a photo of the park? Does anybody drive past it on a regular basis?
I actually do drive past it
Mhm.
regularly, so I could try to get a photo.
Okay, great.
Up and down, to and from work. every
Yeah.
day.
That's great.
When do you need it by?
Well, we need posts for the following weeks. May 20, but that will likely be the farmer's market reminder. So then the earliest post would be, I think, May 27. I think I would like to prioritize the America 250 for May 27
Okay.
if we can, just because I want to get something posted on about that. So then maybe the earliest of June 3rd.
No problem.
third?
I mean,
Okay.
between now and June 3rd, I can get photos.
Yeah, that'd
Just
be great.
pick a nice weather day.
Yeah. And then I have America 250 information in my email, so I don't need to like assign that out. And then obviously I'm reaching out about this Harlem Township Fund, so I'll know more information about that. And we can fit it in there. but that's plenty. That's definitely enough to get us through 1, 2, 3, 4. That's enough to get us through several weeks, so. And perhaps Ashley takes care of public notices, so she'll need to do the public notice when they've officially picked a date for the next trustee meeting and everything.
Actually, I have a question.
Yes.
About if anyone knows anything more about this. They tore down the second silo. Is that whole area going to be like the gravel removed and like sod put like grass put down? Is that going to be like unfenced and made part of the park?
That's a great question. I remember Jason talking about that for several months at the trustee meeting, just getting quotes and things. But I do not remember what
I haven't heard that that's been determined yet. I know they needed to get it down and get that out of there from a safety standpoint.
Mhm.
Because of concerns regarding its stability.
Yeah, if it were to fall.
But I don't know that there's been any big plan yet.
Okay, that's fine.
Well,
Maybe it's
the only,
not.
yeah, the only plan that the Parks Committee has is to basically incorporate the old concrete plant into the park as closely as we can, take down the fence. And most of the quotes that Jason has been getting are for renovations to the restrooms, which are ongoing. That might be another thing for the newsletter, that the restroom is closed because it's being demolished inside.
Oh, okay.
And
We
there's
could
a lot going on.
Park restroom is closed. Do you have dates on that, or is it just like until
Check
further
with-
notice?
Check with Jason.
Okay.
He's got, I think Thursday, the plumbers are coming in for the first time. So there's a lot that has to happen.
Well, that's great. I'm glad we can add that to the email blast and probably post on Facebook.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could try to get pictures of like the fact that the silo's not there anymore, right?
Yeah.
I could say, hey, did you know this silo was taken down and we don't have a final plan for what's going to happen with this, space
Mhm.
yet, but if the intention is to incorporate it into the park and get that fence down, then
Yeah.
I don't know, it might be a nice little for people who don't drive past there every day. I mean, a lot of people probably do, but
Yeah.
some probably don't, depending on where you live in the township.
I think that's a great idea. That's more like directly timely than just like a nice picture, which we obviously like. It's social media, so we want to
Yeah, you
share
can
like
get
nice
multiple
pictures and stuff.
pictures, yeah.
But
Well,
that would be a
Molly-
good update.
Ed was taking pictures while the silo was coming down.
Oh, it'd be nice
And
to
I've
get
got some with the excavator chomping away at it.
Okay.
Yeah, let's if I could talk.
Yeah.
Let's make that one of our posts. I think
That's a
that'd be
great idea. Do you have Ed's email?
I don't, but I'm sure I
I
can.
have his number, telephone number, and so I can ask
Now
him.
you see it, now you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the before and after, or before, during, and after. That'd be a
Okay.
nice, interesting post.
Yes, that would be, people would love to see that. And then do you have Jason's email by chance that you could reach out and ask about if he knows anything?
I don't. Is it on the website or?
Probably not, but I could send,
Yeah,
provide.
just text me
Yes.
or email me it.
Be cool, just in case he has any further information about what to expect.
Gotcha.
That is a great
Yeah.
idea.
Because last thing I would want to do is put something out there that's not true.
But yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, people would love to see, like anybody loves to see like stuff being torn down. It's just fascinating. Just
I was
fascinating.
total shock when I came back and was gone.
Oh yeah.
I drove past one day. I was like, oh, they took that down.
That's what happened to me when I was going by, and I go, what?
In that case, Molly, if you're able to, since that's kind of timely, might want to push that up to
Okay.
like this, like by next week or something like that. If you're able to just like send some emails this week
Yeah.
and see what information you get back.
Yep, I could do that.
That way, too much time doesn't pass. Okay. Fantastic. Anything else on social posts before? And then Tom, thank you. We should probably notify people that the park restroom is closed. I can make like a little closed graphic for that as well. Alrighty, so the next item is regarding opening or asking the trustees rather for additional printing budget for the year in case we need to be distributing a lot more communication, which I guess kind of now I want to break into this larger discussion. It's not in order on the agenda, but it kind of fits. If we're talking about how much more do we need to print to distribute communication, we might as well talk about something that Steve mentioned is on his notes, which is like, how do we get more people aware of these important public meetings where conversations are happening, decisions are being made? This is all kind of one giant conversation. So the first thing is thoughts and considerations for how do we get more people to public meetings? And then the second point is like, is that involve like major like mailings and flyer distributions? What do we need to consider when figuring out how much more money do we need to ask the trustees to approve for that? So kind of just take it away on a larger discussion.
How are we doing on our current budget, right? We had like what, 19,000 or something approved, and
Yeah, great question.
is
So
each newsletter coming in at like a quarter of that?
yeah, we have exactly like
Got what
it
we
was figured out what 1/4 invoices and then it was times 4.
Okay,
So
so we really don't have any extra.
we don't, and the trustees basically said, hey, like, we can figure this out, but we need it to be at a meeting where a additional budget is asked for
Right.
and figured out, and then we'll figure out what to do about that. So I don't think that getting it approved is gonna be a problem. It's just that I think we need to be thoughtful about it.
Yeah, like what do
About
we
what
want
it's gonna cost us.
Yes, what it's gonna cost,
Right.
which obviously, like, I'm happy I can pull like information online if we wanted to use things like Office Max or Vistaprint, but what are we thinking about printing? Is this even worth a discussion? Do we have nothing to print?
Because I mean, the last thing I would want to do is spend money on printed material to mail out and still not get return on the investment, right? Like
Sure.
still having mediocre or lukewarm reception and turnout to these events. But like, I'm trying to think. It's hard because I've been engaged in all of this stuff for so long that it's like hard for me to put myself in the frame of reference of someone who's maybe not as engaged and like what would
Trigger
speak
it
to
to
that,
get
yeah.
the
Yeah.
interest.
I tend to think, I mean, doing this for 30 years and the turnout's been the same for 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
it's, you get this, unless it's something that happens in my backyard, they don't bother to even come. And,
Yeah.
and that's pretty much it. I mean, even, in our BCA meetings or zoning meetings, whatever, until it hits right next door, you never see them.
Same with our Harlem Township meetings. We keep asking people to come and it's the same people.
Yeah.
And it's older people and what's gonna happen,
Yeah.
we try to get the younger people, but I know they're busy. I know they work,
Yeah,
got kids.
yep,
I work, I've got kids.
yeah.
I
I
think,
know.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
really.
matter of yeah, it's a matter of priorities and like what like I enjoy being involved, but like I know not everyone probably feels that way. But like it's like people probably want to be informed and like have good intentions, and maybe more people want to be involved, but not so much that they actually are able to carve the time out, right? So
Right, like it's more of like maybe we need to be considering when we're having these discussions that we like send out just surveys that people could take at home or rather than asking them to come. But the point is that things are happening at these meetings. The trustees are talking about this important stuff and they're making decisions, passing resolutions. We want people to be involved in that and understand what's going on. And to your guys' point about like, we want to get a return on our investment. So if we started mailing more things, do we actually think that
I
would
would-
get people to
I
come?
think I wouldn't mail
Right,
personally.
because that's a big
Yes, A
expense.
couple of questions I've got is,
Yes,
one, when you send out an email blast, do you see the bounce backs of undeliverables?
we do, and it is a small percentage of
Oh.
undeliverables. If
Good.
there's between 650 and 700 people on that list, there's like 20 that bounce,
Well,
and
worked
but there's
awfully
like,
hard to make that list
yes,
complete.
and there's like an
When-
80% open rate.
And when you mail, hard mail
Uh-huh.
stuff, how many returns do you get through the mail, undeliverables?
I do not know that because it's processed by the printer, but I can ask them.
We need to find out, and we need specifically to know.
I think they would be returned to
I
here
think
though,
they-
because
Okay.
the return address is
Oh,
here.
that
They
makes
would,
sense.
because
And-
back in the day, I went down and chased down all the ones that we did with the SPC and
Right.
drove to the addresses to see
Mhm.
if there was a mailbox, if
Mhm.
looked at the GIS map to see if there was a house.
That'd be a question for Ashley if she's
Yes, I was
actually
gonna
getting
say
that.
that, actually.
But if we're getting, a half a dozen or a dozen that seemingly should be deliverable,
Yeah,
well then have her give them to me and I'll go on a driving tour again for a little bit around Harlem Township. You learn lots by driving around there. I just plug them into the Waze and go look and walk around a little bit and see if there's a mailbox.
Sure.
So given that, our assumption is this stuff is being delivered
Yeah,
and it's getting to the email.
yes,
address.
yes.
We don't know if they're opening it.
We have like an 80% open rate
You
usually.
do.
For the
Yes.
emails, that's good.
Well, that's really good. So if that's the case and it's 650 to 700,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't see personal. I wouldn't be mailing anything more than what we're mailing now. I mean, that cost,
It's very,
it's not deserving, particularly when you see what the response rate is to it,
right.
right? And so I think we just need to double down or continue to double down on Facebook, website postings and email blasts as our primary communication method, with the quarterly mailer as the backup plan for
People who don't have
people
easy
that may
access.
not- yeah, or just don't pay attention to the other stuff.
Well, maybe just on the emails or expressly, put a little more bold color or something, or even on the mailing
Mhm.
section, just say, please respond. We want to know what you're.
Sure, maybe like,
Make a point or make it
yeah,
maybe fun saying, something about enjoy your community or something. Let's,
Mhm.
let's get involved or
Maybe we could,
I get what you mean.
something, it's just simple and that they may, what is, what they're doing
Yeah,
there.
like something that's like, hey, please pay attention to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
something else maybe to consider is like, do we record like short video clips of, and try to get that disseminated somehow? Like,
What do you mean by that?
what, sorry?
So what do you mean by that?
Like, I hate to frame it this way, but almost like digital advertising,
Mhm.
like having little like 30-second ads that get targeted
Right,
to
like
our
At the
township.
noodle dinner or the bike
How much
ride.
does that cost? And that's
the farmer's
probably
market, yeah.
less expensive.
get
than-
lost.
No, it doesn't cost.
No, it's
Probably
cost
less expen-
cents.
it's probably a lot less expensive than
Right.
printing and
Cost
mailing
cents.
stuff.
Well, I'm saying film activities out. And make it,
Mhm.
You don't need a marketing company or something to do that. I mean, it's really just capture the video.
Are you thinking, so like, when you make Facebook posts, you can boost them with ad money? So are you thinking
Yeah,
to
stuff
try to
like that.
expand the reach of
Yeah,
them?
like maybe do we, instead of spending money on more
printing.
printed mailers, do we spend a little bit of money on digital advertising to promote things and more directly target people?
Because to your point, we have like, right now, we have like 660 people following that Facebook page, but there is no way to know how many or how few people are actually seeing those posts regularly. Cause that's just the like organic reach of social media is so low nowadays. There's really no way to know if
So yeah, you
many
have,
people are seeing it.
especially because the algorithms will bury stuff
Yeah.
if you don't like, yeah.
Well, and when you look at, I mean, we have the Facebook for, that is the township Facebook. And then if you look at, there are a couple other that are sort of Harlem Township related.
Managed just by
The,
residents, yeah.
The one that was started with Harlem becoming Westerville,
Oh, yeah.
that's gone south. I mean, that's more lost dogs on it than anything
Okay,
else.
so-
It's become, which is frankly, I almost think we could talk to the owner and say, gee, do you think this is bringing any value anymore? Because most of what's getting posted on that is just irrelevant, nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So that's not a good place where people are finding out information.
People are going to it, and I think there's about 400 subscribers to that.
Okay.
And so maybe Doug Rudy is the owner. He and his wife set that up back in the day. And so maybe we could talk to Doug about, can we make that more useful, or, does he even think it's serving a purpose anymore?
Could he post in there about asking people to follow the Harlem Township account?
I'm
A
sure.
lot of them probably already do.
Follow both.
I think they do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I probably followed Jennifer, which is Harlem's
Yeah, 'cause the
township.
difference is Jennifer's is a page. You can't post it and have
Right.
dialogue.
She does it.
Curates.
Well, she does. She
But I'm saying we
posts,
can
but-
give her stuff to start posting and saying, please follow me. She might do
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And
But what I was just saying is like Jen's community page is a page, so people can't like members can't post to it. Only the page admins can.
Similar to our.
Similar to
Harlem
our
Township
page, whereas like that Harlem Becoming Westerville is a group,
Do you want?
so
I
it's
mean,
more
I got to know
dialogue based.
Doug a little.
What's sorry?
I was more on the dark side of the earth back in the day with them, but I'd be happy to talk to Doug just to say, hey, kind of, what do you think these days, the value that it's bringing to the community? You know, what's your vision for why it's still alive, if you think that'd be worth doing that?
I think the goal would be if our problem is that we don't think people are seeing this stuff and getting engaged and wanting to come, our goal should be to direct them to a source of information like our government page. So I'd wonder if, like, first things first is, can you share that we have this page that's active, that is like the source of information of meetings, and we're pointing out when meetings are happening and when you should come? That might be like step one. If people are engaged over in that group, but not over on our page, maybe if the group is posting.
Well, Doug's the owner, but he's not really curating it. I mean,
Mhm.
so I'll tell you, I'll just track him down and ask him what he thinks the ongoing purpose is. And to what degree, you know, is he willing to engage on it to see if he can at least kind of keep pushing people
To the our
to
page.
the township page.
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that.
If we can get people to pay attention to our channels of information, and we don't want to scatter people more is part of the problem. So it'd be nice if we can keep growing that following and have people look at it. And then back to the point about ad money and boosting. Something that I'd like to see is like, yeah, that would be a really interesting experiment. To, if we have something important to boost, like for example, hey, the trustees are having a strategic planning meeting. Perhaps we could ask if we can have permission to boost that post and see what the difference.
I think we
Yes.
should try that.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Like,
don't.
what will happen?
Right, I mean,
I think there's, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think there's also a feature in Facebook, which I've never tried, but like I think page admins can tag like at followers, and it'll send like a like, you know, Facebook notices that it'll like give a notification to every follower saying like, oh, this page tagged you, and you could. So that might be that. I don't think that costs money, but
a way to leverage.
I think you can only do it once a day, but I don't think we would want to do that
Yeah.
once a day. Like we're not some account that needs to do that. Plus if you do that once a day, I feel like people would get annoyed and would
Yeah.
unfollow you. So there's probably but maybe we could try that like
Yeah.
on our next like post that is important enough to like for talking about these strategy meetings and stuff. Try tagging like at followers and see if that works.
Yeah, maybe I should do it for when this YouTube video is uploaded. Like, hey, by the way, the last strategic planning video is, or strategic planning input meeting video is up.
Yeah,
at
and we can
publish.
even just see if does that get more likes or does that get any comments?
Yeah.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, when I talked to John Trainer after the second church meeting, I missed the last one Saturday, I was away. But, you know, people, you know, the common refrain is, you need to tell us what's going on. Well, the bad side of it is, as a township resident, you've got a responsibility to pull information as much as we have to push information.
Mhm.
Now, you know, depending on the demographics of the people,
Sure.
there's, you know, that's gonna happen differently with different age groups, but it seems like that might be worthy of a just kind of a guest editorial comment in one of the newsletters saying communication is a two-way street, right? And you know, we're working hard on the committee and, you know, the amount of communication, proactive push, you know, is up 100-fold from where it was. But the reciprocal of that is you've got a responsibility to stay informed, you know, and just, you know, every now and then you just have to poke people just a little bit.
Yeah, and would it be worth, does anyone know if the Delaware Gazette still does like updates on any of like the township stuff? There was that Gary, but something that
I don't know if we've had
Periodically.
anything newsworthy.
Yeah.
And there's even less Delaware Gazette activity going on because we
Yeah.
got approved, it's okay now to post online postings rather
Yeah.
than in the newspaper. So.
I
Yeah,
just- I
that's
know
no
that,
longer a
like,
law.
we haven't had a lot of like newsworthy stuff per se, but I don't know, maybe it would be worth having like a comprehensive write-up of everything our township has done over the past year, and I don't know, it's just a thought.
Yeah. Well, one last thought on this. I like it. So we're saying that perhaps it's not necessarily like a ton of printing money that we need to ask for, but we need to maybe ask for more like digital marketing budget.
Yes.
That's the
There's-
direction I would go.
There is one idea that I had for printing on run it by everybody. So some of the feedback that has been now at the last 2 strategic planning input meetings, and it was like really like talked about a lot at this one on May 10th, was that people seem to not be able to contextualize all that's going on. They seem to be able to contextualize it better, rather, if things are specifically being talked about, like where they live in the township.
Mhm.
So rather than like if so where do I live? I live in the southeast corner, and it's not really hitting me what's going on in the northwest corner, like when somebody mentions my corner. So we talked about maybe we need to break out these strategic planning meetings or communication about stuff into like quadrants. So that could be if like if we want to go forward with that for the rest of the year, that could be an easy thing to mathematically figure out. Maybe like 1 mailing per quadrant that your meeting is coming up, because we know how much the whole mailing costs. So we could just divide that by 4 and ask, well, actually, no, we need to divide it by 4 and say this is how much each quadrant would cost if we wanted to send one more mailing of the year, trying to get people to come to these like 4 quadrant meetings. Does that make sense?
How
What
would
I'm
we
saying?
divide up the
Yeah,
addresses?
that's what I was saying. How do you know what addresses and what?
I guess I don't. I guess that sounds like it
We-
might be.
You have a map, which zoning would have.
Well,
Yeah.
wouldn't the Board of Elections have that by each?
They would have it by
Precinct,
precinct,
well,
but the
Precinct.
precincts don't align with like quadrants.
They
They're
don't.
kind of funny shaped.
Okay,
Yeah. I
So
would
that
think we
might
would
be
know that on
hard.
zoning, what streets are in what quadrant.
yeah.
It might be a little bit
You can
more
add
work
this
than
in the
it's,
map.
it might be more work than it's worth.
Well, once you know, you can identify those people.
Well, so maybe a simpler way is, if like that would be very difficult, is 1 mailing that has all the meetings on them with like a map. Like,
Yeah, that's what
like
we did.
this map in blue,
Couple
your
years ago.
area is blue. Look where your area is, and blue is on whatever date, and green. So maybe like 1 mailing for that.
Yeah, that's what we did at the beginning of 20.
At
Two,
the
was it,
introducing
or
the quick
23?
strategy guide.
You did
We
that
did-
something similar.
Yeah, we did a series of
5 meetings
Yeah.
times 2.
10
Mhm.
meetings.
10 meetings, and we did it in the kind of the 4 big quadrants plus the center.
Okay.
And, you know,
Those were pretty well
drew
attended.
480 people
Mm-hmm.
over those 10 meetings. That was big turnout.
And you mailed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a,
Mailed
it
it.
was like a flyer that had the map and said when all the dates were.
Yep.
And
And
yeah,
if you couldn't make it in your zone, that was okay.
yeah, you were welcome to
Yeah.
come down.
You were welcome to come to another.
And I think that might be
Mm.
easier because a lot of people who are out here or here don't want to come in the center.
Yeah.
They just.
And I think that was a pretty like, I don't know, like a big achievement, right? You know, where it's like, it's presenting the quick strategy guide, right? So there was, you know, a lot of people were a lot curious, right? Drove attendance.
What I heard from John was, I don't think he's thinking about another strategy meeting, such as a church meeting, until August at this.
Mhm.
Correct. Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't know.
They need to start distilling
Yeah.
information.
They probably had a
Well,
lot of
there's nothing
input.
to say either. I mean, he's got the there's a work train going on with the city of Columbus and Delaware around, you know, some of these ideas
Mm-hmm.
about how we might work with Columbus. Frankly, I'm kind of surprised that people haven't kind of caught on, because we've talked very openly about it. It's been the trustees meetings, it's on the recordings going out, it's been at the church, you know, John got up and talked about it at least the second church meeting where I was. Here's just, you know, either it's like ho-hum doesn't affect me, or they just haven't figured out what's being said. So you've got that going on, you got the sewer stuff going
Mm-hmm.
on.
Mhm.
And then John is trying to start up this economic development process with the guy from Delaware. And that is got to get done before he can even have the follow-up meetings with Columbus.
Right.
Right? I mean, so that's kind of, and so that stuff's, and interestingly enough, all that's pushing out towards the election.
Right.
So, you know, we're gonna have 3 new trustees, oh, not necessarily new, but 3 being voted on.
Right.
And so I kind of wonder if this is all gonna get drowned out in the prop wash of an election coming up until people kind of know who the, you know, what the team looks like
Yeah.
going forward.
Have you
So
heard of any people running yet?
I haven't heard. I haven't.
I know
asked.
one.
John Trainer
Great,
is
John Trainer
circulating,
had a
John
petition
is.
around
yeah,
it.
John's circulating a petition, but that's all I.
But Dave.
I don't think Dave,
Dave,
I don't think Dave is. I
I have
think,
no- Should ask him.
I had the impression that he wasn't going to,
I-
he wants to retire.
That's not accurate.
No,
I was afraid of that.
Guess we shouldn't be saying things we don't know.
I'm just saying that's what I
Yeah.
heard months ago, so.
Well, why don't we, since we're talking about it, we talked about at our last meeting that for our next quarterly newsletter, we needed to have a section reminding people that it is an election year and what goes into that. So to tie up our discussion about additional budget for reaching people, we're going to ask the trustees about additional budget for digital marketing. In addition, perhaps we can tell them one idea if they wanted to maybe fit in additional strategic planning or educational meetings in person over the next several months. We could do one more mailing than we previously have budgeted. And it could be a mailing very similar to what the SBC did, where it's like there's a map,
Mhm.
color coded. We could have scheduled meeting dates, and it could just be a way to like inform people by area of the township if they're interested in that. And that would just be, that's easy for me to present to them and be like, this is how much it would cost, because I know how much a regular quarterly mailing costs. So just be adding one additional. And we can let it be in their court as if that's something that they want to do.
Mhm.
But we certainly want to ask about the digital marketing aspect.
I guess I'm still thinking about what we're facing later in the year with the election. Do you think we should, you know, a lot of times the civic association takes on the responsibility to do
Oh, okay.
a, you know,
Candidates night.
evening with the candidates.
Oh,
but
okay.
That's been, well, yeah. But I mean, in the midst of what Harlem Township is in the midst of right now, and for the coming years, with all of the decisions and development that has going to be done, it would seem maybe we should or could partner with the Civic Association if they wanted to facilitate it. Maybe it ought to be more than just one night. You know, maybe we could try to do interviews with the candidates and get that on tape, where there's a script of, you know, not unlike what, you know, the TV stations do with some of the bigger candidates
Yeah.
going around, to get out ahead of this, to inform people kind of, hey, again, here are the topics.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to know where your candidates stand going forward. So you can make an informed decision on what you think is what you want to see out of Harlem Township.
Mm-hmm.
The
I
Heritage
think
Group
the-
does the same thing.
Yeah, the
So-
big.
We ask candidates come and we ask them questions.
Oh, really?
Is that
before they are, before they are, like, last time I know that before they got voted, we want to know what they were like,
Is that a public one or you're
they're
just
public.
asking?
No, we asked them in our meetings. We
Uh-huh.
say, we have this meeting, we said we have the candidates come in and talk to us.
And then you say that like if people want to come listen in and hear it, they can.
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, that's the Meet the Candidates night. The
Yeah,
Pacific-
for the no, we do it also, the Harlem Heritage Group.
but you're saying you just invite the candidates to one of your heritage meetings?
Yeah, one at a time. We do it like a night and have them talk for 15 minutes and they can leave and have the next one come in or whatever. Yeah,
And people can attend if they want
people
to.
can attend.
So maybe it's publicizing that, or to your point, I know the Big Walnut, I think Civic Association does something very similar for like, school board candidates 2 years ago. They did little like 15-minute recorded interviews with
Yes.
each of the candidates. And actually the guy from the library, Sunbrook Community Library,
Yeah, he facilitated.
facilitated
The,
that.
the chamber did it.
Oh, was it Chamber? Okay, thank you. I couldn't remember.
So thinking ahead, that that obviously that's in several months, but it's probably time to reach out to the Civic Association and get conversations going about something
Or,
like that.
or the Civic Association and Harlem, Heritage,
Mhm.
maybe it's.
Joint effort, like
A
we all,
joint
a joint effort between the Civic Association, the Heritage Group, presents whatever trustee interviews.
Okay. I have the email address for president of the Civic Association, so I could reach out to her and ask, maybe we could get coffee or something and start talking about how to get the ball, like to understand what's their plans for the year. Are they starting to work on their plans? And
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Great. Well, then, yeah, absolutely. We have all these new communications channels, so we should 100% be involved in making sure that any efforts around the election are being broadcasted.
Yeah.
So then that goes into our newsletter. So that would be mailed by early July, which believe it or not, we are halfway through May. So we probably want to start working on it and reaching out to people and giving them like a month's notice. We talked about a section about the election year, which we can maybe put a pin in that. Like we want to have that in there, but we need to see what's going on with the Civic Association first. So that's a placeholder. Other sections, John Trainer wants to write another letter. He said because there's still some comments during these strategic planning meetings where people just need further education about the legal and just like practical reasons why there's ways why you can't just say like, no, we can't have any development in Harlem Township. And that's just like an educational piece. There's just a lot that goes into it. So he wants to write a letter that explains the many reasons why you can't just like
Mhm.
stop it from happening. So that's what he wants his letter to be for the next one.
If it were possible to stop, there'd be so many rural townships that would have stopped it. I
Yes.
mean, like yeah.
So then we'll have maintenance, of course. I'm putting my name next to that. Zoning commission is what Darlene asked Louis. Is that right? Does that sound correct?
What do you, Darlene, and what?
Louis Commission.
Louis.
Yeah. She usually asks him if the zoning commission has an article. Then do we want to just keep doing the things that because it's easy, like assigning to who, we've been assigning to. So Molly, you did the zoning department previously, is that right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, just comfortable because then you know who to talk
Yeah.
to. Economic development could be a myriad of things.
But that's kind of on hold.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's really any
Yes, okay.
update this go around.
Let's see. Steve, do you want to like reach out about parks and ask if they have anything to write for the newsletter?
Sure, Dave.
Yeah. There's probably going to be America 250 stuff possibly, but there could be other, like we just talked about several big updates happening, so. Then in an email, Darlene had asked if we knew that Lisa got some sort of special certification. That's like a big accomplishment. It's
I
like,
didn't know.
I didn't know that. That's awesome. And she said she'd be happy to like email her and ask more information about that, maybe like an interview. So I marked Darlene down for that. Lisa will certainly have her regular fiscal update that she provides with like the numbers, but some sort of certification that is very positive for the
That's
township.
just cleared whatever the financial audit certification.
her email says that Lisa received a major certification for the township that puts us in good financial
Yeah,
standing.
that's the annual. I mean,
Audit.
that happens every year.
So, but that's a big accomplishment. So maybe we should at least highlight that it was completed and we
It's a
got
her.
like an A+ or whatever, you know.
I don't think there's grades.
There's not grades.
You either pass or fail.
Okay, that's good to know. Well,
Get a-
she said she could reach out to her, so we'll just see what Lisa says back. Okay. Fire. Usually I email him. Communications is us. What do we want to say in our communications section?
Vice chair spot still open.
That reminds me, somebody had reached out to me about that, and then I asked if they would be interested in coming to our meeting, but then I have not received a response back to them, unfortunately.
How long ago was that?
Last week.
Okay, well, maybe there's hope still.
Yes. So, okay. But vice chair, email list, social media. Trying to think if there's anything else.
And submissions are due to you by when?
For the vice chair?
No,
No.
for this input.
Oh, for this input, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. How about we say by June 13th? To give about a month?
I'm just texting myself all my reminders that I need to do.
Okay. Karen, what do you think Heritage will be talking about this quarter?
The bike ride and the
Oh.
farmer's market.
Okay.
By the way, there is a food truck at every
Mhm.
farmer's market,
Yep. Every week, right?
right? And get ready for the Harlem Days.
And prepping for Harlem Township Days. And what are those dates?
The bike ride's July the 12th
Perfect.
and August 16th.
Are we gonna have this in the mail by July 12th?
I think we would want to. August 15th, 16th?
16th. It's a Saturday, right? Yeah.
Okay, so if,
Because the April one didn't go out until like the third week of April. So
yeah.
maybe we could be a little more timely for the.
To get for the bike ride, that's gonna be important. I think,
I-
well, there should be plenty of time. If we get everything in a month by June 13th, then we could get it sent off by like the 20th to the week of the 23rd of June to give it like a couple weeks to reach people.
Perfect.
All right. BZA.
You know, I don't know. I mean, we got things in the process, but a public record, but it's still, you know, yay or nay is up to the board. I don't, you know, we can, after the fact, you know,
If there is something approved or
guess-
within the next 4 can you be responsible for writing that up and let me know what it is?
find out what happens. We got a meeting next Monday.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So you'll be my contact to see if there's anything to include.
when you got this, because I'm on vacation here right after that.
By June 13th. Okay. So then we talked about an election section, and then do we want to call our election section like our miscellaneous that we typically provide?
Oh, yeah, I would think so. Sorry, I like mind like there for a second.
Yeah, we typically have some sort of miscellaneous.
Yeah, I think the election type information would be a good fit for that.
Because it could potentially be a lot of information between running.
Yeah, because
Between civic associate, like it could potentially be a
Yeah,
lot of
meetings
information.
about the candidates.
Yeah.
yeah,
When does wasn't that to be in by now, the
petitions.
petition? Yes. thank you.
August. Well, actually, I don't know about
August 6th.
August
August
6th.
6th.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great,
I know it's something in August.
great. Petitions due by August 6th. Excellent. Exciting stuff, guys. Anybody have anything else you wanna conclude?
Can I share a couple things? This is Bob.
Absolutely. Hi, Bob.
First of all, May 28th is the special meeting of the trustees at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
And this Thursday's steering.
I think
Oh, you cut out.
you put yourself on mute, I think.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
Holly basically is going to be doing an education center because I think she understands that a lot of the steering members don't have a good understanding of some of the strategic initiatives and things of that nature. So that's what her topic is for this meeting. I also agree with Steve that in terms of the public, if you looked at the 3 meetings of the steering committee, they went from 100 and something. I think the second one was 70 something, and
For
there
the
were,
church meetings.
and then this past one, public members, not members like Holly or the trustees, but there were under 25. So, you know, you can try to get residents until you have something like the merger. You're just not gonna, I don't think, get the responses that you want.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I do think that that's where, like, again, last month, the tutorial on overlay districts.
Mhm.
And I think people, are reading some of this. And so I think, one of our roles is education.
Mhm.
I mean, and so I think we could continue to feed, those kind of topics out for public education.
Mhm.
And that people will appreciate it, and some of it's gonna stick, and yeah, we can't worry about what the take up is. I mean, we gotta get it out there and then kind of reinforce what we're doing with that, so.
And
That's
I
true.
agree with that. Yeah.
Education is very important.
Mhm.
Great discussion as always, guys.
Yeah, we had a good meeting.
Thank you. Yes.
Thing,
One more thing?
on the social media, the thing about roads being closed and.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, someone did.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that
And I
up.
read it that today, I went on the road, but.
I know, I saw that. So somebody reached out on a Facebook group and Darlene had sent it and said, hey, is there anything we can do about this? I asked Ashley and Jason. Jason let me know that it was not like Harlan Township closing anything, it's just Delaware County. And
Right.
unfortunately, unless it's like a roundabout where it's like closed for weeks and weeks, Delaware County doesn't reach out to Harlan Township. However, today I found on Facebook, the Delaware County Engineers page is posting their schedule. So I shared it to the Harlan Township page, and that will hopefully be very helpful. And maybe like when it comes to email blasts, we could use that as a resource.
One thing I wanted to mention though, was people think, oh, high road or township road or is it the county road or whatever. If you look on the blue or green street sign in the corner, it says,
TWP.
Yeah.
it says
Good
Delaware
point,
County Road
Delco.
number 10 or
Yeah.
15 or whatever, and
Mhm.
of course says TW, the township road number.
Mhm.
So that it's in the smaller print in the corner.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard to see because of.
That could be just a good FYI post to our Facebook
Mhm.
page. Did
But-
you know your street sign tells you whether it's a township road or a county road?
But most of the north-south roads are county, or east-west roads are county road. The majority of them are county roads, Delaware County roads.
But I mean, and it's not just road work, it's all the tree trimming stuff. I mean,
It's everything.
so it's the orange
It's like-
barrel season.
Yeah.
It's what, my view, a bit of it is a little bit get over it.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
been on
With
605 for
You know, new
whatever, the
poles.
AEP's putting new poles in,
Poles in, yeah.
you know, and, so you deal with it, that's what it is. You know,
Yeah. We do have one resource though, and that's that Delaware County Engineers
cool.
Facebook page.
Yeah,
So
they
we
do.
can
They-
share that and use that in our email blast when needed and stuff like that. Cause what they do is they post I went down through to see what all they're posting. They'll post like road closed, Harlem Road, and then they always put in parentheses the township.
I don't
So
know
there's a ton of
also
those.
this. Has the paving schedule been for this year?
Delaware County Engineers, yes, has
I mean,
posted the
for
paving
Our
schedule.
township roads. so-
Harlem Township's got their own.
Paving,
You might
yes,
talk to the-
Jason shared his intentions in the newsletter, I believe.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing, it probably is in there, I don't remember, but.
That
yeah,
could be a
but
good thing to post
like-
on Facebook though.
Because I know, like, Woodtown, they've been working on the berm and doing this and patching stuff, I think.
Right.
And it looks to me like that's getting ready to be repaved sometime this summer. But again, that's.
No,
Delaware
they
County
wanted to
road,
do
so
sections, they won't do it,
Yeah.
it doesn't
that
do
they-
that.
not until, it's too bad. Right now Harlem's getting just in sections paved, that's it.
And that's what the county's doing, because that's what they posted about Harlem Road.
Mhm.
Is
Oh,
that-
yeah.
Is that all they're gonna do, or are they?
No, that's it.
No,
No,
they get
Then
ready
then
to-
they'll paint it just to make sure.
But sometimes.
I'm used to that.
They do repair work, sometimes they do that repair work before they do the paving work, so. But who knows?
Why do that if you're gonna tear up?
But like
the
I
road
say,
anyway?
if you look on the street sign, they'll tell you if you're on a county road or township. road.
Yeah,
Well, the Harlem Road, according to the Delaware County, will be closed until, or through 5/15. So just through Thursday.
Yeah, where they're making the cut.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, guys, thank you so much.
thanks.
Great discussion.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.
Prep work there, kiddo.
Thank you. I'm the queen of agendas. I was with my team too.
Okay.
And I'm
Want
gonna
me to shut this
get
down?
scoot out of here. Guys, next time.
Have a nice evening.
No, although I feel like I'm like one of the least people who needs to attend, because
Sure, you're pretty dialed in, right?
I'm pretty, I don't wanna come